Monday Night Raw last week broke the record they set the week before for the second lowest Nielsen number the show has ever done in its history. This tops the previous week's second lowest rating of all time. Last Monday, they were down to a 1.62 rating for the show, with the lowest third hour of the show since they went permanently to 3 hours in 2012. Just 2 million viewers for hour number 3, which was headlined by a Shawn Michaels appearance that was heavily promoted in advance, and it was promoted throughout the show. Shawn Michaels is going to be here. What's he going to do? What's he going to say? 2 million viewers. And for the people who will inevitably crow about, well, it doesn't matter, it's all about demos, or it doesn't even matter about demos, the ratings are insignificant. But people love to crow about demos. I saw there was a former WWE writer who was saying nothing matters except demos. Just FYI, the 18 to 34 demo last week was down 15%. 35 to 49 was also down, although not 15%, but it was down. The good news is that they were up in people over the age of 50. So I guess that's what happens when you headline the show with 3 out of the 4 acts north of 50 years of age. Triple H is 49, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I know we're splitting hairs on this. He's not 50 just yet, so I won't lump him in there. But yeah, the lows keep getting lower. I keep saying it. WWE's favorite dance. It's the LIMBO. They seem to be dancing it every week. I don't have much to say about Raw itself. That segment with Elias and Kevin Owens was as much fun, I think, as I've had watching this show in a long time. Just pure, unadulterated hatred. Yeah, it's cheap heat, obviously. I mean, anybody can get booed by bashing the local sports team, or in this case, the former sports team. They were in Seattle, and he mocked them for the Supersonics leaving and going to Oklahoma City. Now, it's been years now since that. It's probably been like 10 years now since that happened. But believe me, sports fans do not forget. There are still people around here in these parts, here in Brooklyn, who cannot even talk. They cannot even talk, cannot even mention the Dodgers. They're still bitter about them leaving Brooklyn for LA, and they left in 1957. Now, there's fewer and fewer people like that. A lot of the old fans are dying off. But they still exist. They are still around, and they are still very, very bitter about what happened all those many years ago. So they do not let things go easily. But this was just sustained hatred that I have not seen in a long time. And honestly, I'd have to go back probably the last time I can remember there being a sustained hateful reaction like this. You'd have to go back to the night after WrestleMania last year. When Roman Reigns came out, this was the night after he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. People thought he retired The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which is funny now to look back on, given that he's probably wrestled, Undertaker has this year more times than he has in the last 2 or 3 years combined. But he came out there, and boy, did people lace into him. They didn't let him speak. I think it was like 8 straight minutes of hate, until finally he just said, "This is my yard now," dropped the mic and laughed. It was great. And what a missed opportunity that was too, right? To turn him into this mega heel, which of course they didn't do. Yeah, you'd have to go back at least then, and before that, I don't even know. This was just hate on another level. Elias almost corpsed at one point. He was so caught off guard by it. He looked like he was having a blast. Kevin Owens was confused because Kevin Owens, he didn't know what the hell was going on because he legitimately knows nothing about sports. He does not care about sports. He doesn't have a favorite sports team. Zoos. Name a zoo, he can probably tell you where it is. He's big on that kind of stuff. Sports, not so much. So that was fun. The Revival losing to the B team, that's just classic WWE. The Revival was coming off their best match to date on the main roster, which was the best match of Raw the week before. People were talking about, whoa, what a great match that was against Dolph and Drew, and there were even rumors that Vince McMahon himself was supposedly impressed with the Revival coming out of that match. So what do? The very next week, they jobbed them out to the fucking B team. And it's not even like they won the week before. They lost that match too. But winning and losing, I mean, if you go out there and you put in the kind of performance and have the kind of match they had, it's not a big deal. I don't know that, people were upset they lost. I think more people were like, wow, that was a damn good match. So the very next week, they lose, but they lose to the B team. And I look at that and I just think to myself, I can't even get angry about it anymore. I just look and I go, Who could possibly care any more about any of this? You wonder why people are indifferent. You wonder why people vote meh in polls on Twitter. This is just one example of why. Why should anybody care? How are you supposed to get behind anybody or get behind anybody as an act that you could take seriously when this is the sort of thing that constantly goes on? You know, there was an Associated Press headline, AP story this week. The headline was, "The Mormon Church is scaling back the Sunday time commitment expected of its members from 3 hours to 2. And you can imagine the first thing I thought of. And I read this story and it said, since 1980, church members have been expected to attend a 1-hour sacrament worship service every Sunday, followed by 2 hours of meetings such as Sunday school and other things. And under the schedule change, members will continue attending the 1-hour Sunday service, but then only 1 additional hour of meetings." And they have a quote from this person. It doesn't matter what his name is, but he's a member of a Mormon leadership group, and they interviewed him. And his quote was, he says, "Church leaders have been aware for years that the 3-hour block was difficult for many." You don't say. Hey, this could be applied to a lot of different things. I look at this and I say, if the Mormon Church can scale back from 3 hours to 2, surely WWE could do the same thing. But then they would lose out on millions of dollars. So we're stuck with 3 hours for the foreseeable future. But I saw that and I laughed. I was just like, oh, I got to mention this. I have to mention this at some point during the show this week. 3 hours, too difficult for many people. You don't say.